Disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Don't take any of the following seriously.
Chicken jockey.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, guys?
Welcome, everybody. We're playing Minecraft.
Dead whale.
Dead whale.
This is a world that we worked on, like, I don't know, in the ancient days.
Half a decade or more.
But this is, like, one of the first builds that we sort of did to, like, get started on building.
We had, like, a fantasy theme. We were like, let's make as many medieval parts of a big kingdom as we could.
There's sort of just a couple villages surrounding a main sort of city area, and then the main castle. Here we got, like, this canyon.
Whoa. I like that.
Whoa!
Mostly just practice buildings.
When I'm doing medieval builds, I love making these sort of, like, compounds. A plot of land where it's blocked off at the edges by houses and barns and shit like that. They actually make the border of the property.
Mort's Mill. This is Mort's Mill. And this is the statue that you redid 100 times.
Yeah, it's still not good.
We had, like, a bandit area. And this is, like, the Yellowstone sort of geyser area I tried to
Really
do.
love these hot springs.
A lot of this build tries to incorporate, like, the natural terrain of Minecraft. When we use, like, actual Minecraft, I try to sort of form fit the terrain around builds, but also, like, you gotta incorporate the terrain, because I'm not gonna level this whole mountain for no reason, for example. It's just better to, like, sort of push the buildings up against it.
And I remember when we first generated this world, it was just before the Caves and Cliffs update, or it might have even been just after.
It was just
But
before,
we purposefully got this older generation. Because we wanted the very sort of clunky old Minecraft terrain, and just to see if we could make something kind of aesthetically pleasing out of it. This is what we ended up naming it after. We spawned near this mountain, and this range is full of weirdly generated arches, and we decided to incorporate it into the build very heavily.
So we originally had this mine here. I believe Spencer built some of these. Here's a more compound-like one as well. I have this sort of, like,
Little gate.
Yeah, to get in. And I really like this painted stuff. Love this tower. This is the Polish-inspired castle you built. And then this is, like, the mining town. Not fully done either. Got a nice little pickaxe tavern here. I built this really big, clunky church that I'm not sure I'm a fan of, but...
I like the springs around it.
Yeah, I did a little glacier there. Definitely, like, a lot of experimentation. This is a weird house. There's no other ones like this. And we got, like, a little wood cutting camp. But yeah, this was the slum island that you sort of worked on. We didn't quite get to finish.
The working lighthouse. Yeah, I forgot about that.
We had another area, different style, practice some other stuff. We sort of had, like, the beginning of a Viking's port. Here we had some graves on the top of the hills.
Yeah, these thatched houses. I really like the squid flag was a good design for this. Wolf Island, I think we called this one. With all these sort of grass-covered turf huts everywhere.
It's multiple. That's a wild one.
Just a wild one.
So this is just like a world that was sort of like the beginning. Kind of just a mash of a bunch of styles, I feel like.
Wow, this looks nice. Meow. This is the city of Tidebreak. This is the second project that we worked on. This time around, the new update had come out. We decided we really want to take advantage of the new world generation. So we scouted a good seed, and we found a spot that we wanted to work on. The overall quality, I think, is a bit more consistent. I wanted to make this city look pretty stark. I wanted the sharp roofs and very worn city walls. I wanted to add a lot of texturing. This one was a lot of fun to work on. A lot of things I changed now, but still, I mean, really fun.
Yeah, this is a cracked seed. This is the only mountain I think that we altered.
Yeah.
The rest of this is Natural generation.
We were considering building a large dwarven city up in the mountains here, but we never got around to it. We only built this one sort of fisherman's hut by the lake. Yeah, I really love the views of the city from the water, from that side bay, and from the open water. Just seeing the castle with its overhang, like really, what an impressive sight. So this one is the Fortress of Adak. This one is from actually a D&D game that I was playing in my friend's homebrew setting, and I just really, really, really enjoyed the description of this place. There's a real vibe, this sort of like fallen imperial frontier town, which is sunk into hard times, in the grips of an almost endless wintry region. This is one of the first builds that I completed. I think there's one or two hut roofs that don't have all the snow on them on some of the outlying islands, not in the main fortress. Yeah, there's like one or two. Whenever I upload anything, I always notice after the fact. As you can see, yes, so this is a custom texture pack. I took the Stay True pack and I customized quite a few specific items, like corals and paintings and certain plants. I think the weeping vines got turned into these icicles. For me, I kind of like this because it's a balance between just the simplicity of default Minecraft. I find if I can build with too much detail, I'll never get anything done. I micromanage far too much. With this, you get the default blockiness of regular Minecraft, but you know, any sort of pink cherry wood block that I would never really use in the base game, I can shape it into something that I actually will get quite a bit of use out of. So, so that the water doesn't freeze, it's ocean biome rather than a snowy one. So for this texture pack, I changed the rain to look like snow. So even when you fly over the open water, it still looks like you're snowing. It's just falling a little faster.
I see what you mean now.
Yeah. These skinny bridges are some of my favorites. One of my favorite things to add to builds because they're so precarious. I always imagine walking across them like swaying, trying not to fall off. These pit houses were very common in the Middle Ages. 6 feet underground, it stays whatever the average temperature is year-round in a given location. So if you dig a house into the ground, it's generally going to be cool in the summer and warm in the winter. Somebody had used some D&D map making tool to generate a map of this lake for us, the players, to look at, and I just imported it into World Painter as a mask, and I used it to trace these islands out. Oh, we got hanging nets here that was added. I've done a lot of work thinking about the snow. Certain pathways that go in places where it snows, they look like pebbles and paving stones, flagstones, this sort of thing, but it's buttons and trapdoors to prevent the snow from accumulating. Mm-hmm. The walkway on the wooden palisade, they're all half slabs set at a level that won't catch the snow. So here exactly, there's trapdoors there. This tower in ruins, I really liked. I wanted it to have a sort of post-Roman vibe. So here's one of the towers falling apart. The other one's also semi in ruins. Really, really love the dilapidated vibe. I've also got a temple here, which you can see the building adorned with all the cow skulls and all this, based on stave churches in Scandinavia. And then there's a giant windmill, which produces the town's income, basically its entire economy. So this here is Honeyhall. This build in general is way out in the woods. This is a town where there's one hill rising up from the forest that they cut a sort of circular swathe of field and village out. And this was part of a D&D game. This is part of my own personal setting. Pretty small town, one of the smaller ones in the setting, but it was important for the players. They became an adventuring company. They got named when they were here. I really felt like this is where I refined my build style. This is where I really got comfortable doing thatched roofs. Doing a really big mixture of different building styles in one build. Almost every house here is different. This, you can see, almost all the builds here are diagonal. I like the
Castle.
outdoor eating area and the oak leaf wreath. That's a symbol for a tavern. We've got a little temple over there for this town. This would be for some harvest goddess. There's going to be a little garden on the side there, that little fenced area, and a graveyard around the back. A lot of fun building this temple, and I based a lot of this stuff here very closely on either archaeology or on manuscript images. I tried to get this as close as I could to real medieval architecture and layouts and everything. The yellow is wheat, of course, but the blue are flax, which makes linen and linseed. Kind of a comfier build. I wanted this one to be just a very nice rural town. The castle I'm quite pleased with, a lot of open space. I'm probably going to put an apple orchard. There's a small garden you can see here, and just below that is the graveyard for the noble family on one little terrace below. So you can see, yeah, these like effigy coffins for knights and stuff. And yeah, that's this build. It's got quite a bit to do. I'm about half done the village. And again, no interiors yet, but very pleased with this, and I think it's gonna look really, really nice when I do have it done. This is the city of Boarsberg. This is a build that I've been working on for a few years now. It's based on a city, a very important city in my same setting and D&D campaign. The players in that game own a house in this city. And I worked at this for a very, very, very long time. There's quite a bit to it. And interestingly, the project is now paused indefinitely. This is a super flat world.
Super flat. So like some example.
Yeah, here's a half-built mountain. Yeah, here's a river with no trees or anything, a waterfall that's just a waterfall and nothing else. This was a really, really, really fun project. This is the build where I really figured out what I was doing with my builds. I just filled so much of this map up. It's kind of like Archeon was for you, where it's just something that I had on my own to work on whenever I felt like it. I really, really went off. Just flooding this place with detail. Here, you can see I did a lot of interiors. Here is a bunch of charcoal kilns out in the forest and woodcutters' cabins. There's quarries, there's mills, there's farms, there's blacksmith shops. Yeah, here's a stone cutting quarry. There's some mine shafts and lime burning pyres and all this. I tried to look at medieval manuscript images of everyday life, of various jobs, and just tried to recreate what a real medieval city and its surroundings would look like with all the different elements. Here, yeah, you can see the interiors. I've got hanging herbs and furniture everywhere. The new version of this map, it's a little bit bigger. Everything's shaped a little more from a top-down map perspective. Everything's shaped a little more to my liking. And then he builds with this where early on I really filled an area, and then I became maybe less happy with the designs that I used, but it would require a whole demolition to replace it. With the new build, it just allows me to completely rebuild and just restart anything that I'm not pleased with. And then, anything that I do like, if I really feel like it, I can copy it block for block. It's really full of houses. I built it a little too on a grid. I hadn't yet really gotten that good at diagonals yet.
Yeah, diagonals can be super effective, but they can also, like, if you're not using them correctly, they can kind of detract if they look silly.
Yeah, here is one of my favorite parts of the build. I'm going to have to try to replicate this as best as I can in the new one. This is the Temple of Mata, the harvest goddess of this region. I spent a lot of time on this. There's fonts for washing your hands. There's candle holders and chandeliers, altars, and a statue of the goddess. The roof is covered in stars, like a starry night sky. This was some custom texture work I did. I really wanted this place to feel as grand as I could make it.
And a lot of these temples around, I love their designs. They're very funky.
Yeah, here's a nice smaller one. A lot of these are based on real cathedrals, mostly in England and France, some in Belgium. There's a bridge here with some houses on it, some fortifications to guard it off. A small village called Swinton across the river. This is a sort of farming town. They have a tannery there. You can see the pits for tanning.
This area is nice. I like this. This
Yes, yeah.
crossroads.
This is much more recent. I was doing a lot of field work around here.
This is a good show of like the new compounds or newer.
Yes, exactly. Here's a tiny little keep. I really like this one. Here is the main keep. This is the castle, Boarsberg Castle, that the city's named after. Originally, there was a small hill here. The keep was built on top of. You can see part of it sticking out of the side there. I've completely redesigned this in the new build, but I'm still quite happy with how this looked. It's very impressive. It's extremely dramatic. Here I've got a graveyard and a temple for funerary rituals here. This one I really had a lot of fun, and this is probably the most complete temple in terms of interior. Bones. This was actually done in Paris. Yeah, here I have this temple. There's all sorts of tombs. Here you have a very large sort of mausoleum building indoors. Funny enough, some of these blocks are broken. I don't know if you can see that out there. I think that's the mud block that I tried to retexture recently. Here under the build, I have a catacomb, and I'm really happy with this. And Colin, you actually played in the D&D game that this is based on, and you guys cleared these catacombs of the undead in a little side quest. This map is very filled with buildings. The skyline of the city with all those houses, I rarely get things that full. Oh yeah, here in this old
yeah, I just love that area.
Here, I've done quite a bit of work with the texture packs to really fill the forests. I really like just overly blooming with life woodlands. There's dead trees with different types of mushrooms growing on them all throughout the woods. More water-liking plants like ferns grow where there were creeks and all this. Just by following a few rules that I set for myself, with like what plants go in what environments, you can really make a build just look more real. Just look way more real. And that's part of why the plant textures are so important for me.
Thank you, y'all, for watching our
Thank you
Minecraft
for
builds.
letting me show these builds off, too. Thank you very much for hosting these and showing them off.
The boar. Say it.
The Boar of Boarsberg.
Can't have it!
Epic funny
Really?
time.